Ok, nos vamos a nuestra siguiente pregunta. Sentimiento, técnica o sonido, de Iván. Feeling, technique, or sound? Oh, sorry, feeling, technique, or sound? What's more important?
What's more important, feeling, technique, or sound? Well, it's according to what you're trying to get out of the instrument. And it's according to what your goals are. If your goals are to be a very technically proficient player, then technique is going to be very important. And practicing long hours is going to be the way you're going to get there. If your goal is to be, what was the other two? Technique, sound, and what was the other? Feeling. Okay, if your goal is to be a very emotional player, then maybe you don't need so much technique. Maybe you just need to understand. You need some technique. You need to be able to express your emotions somehow. So any kind of a technique is very important. In order to make any kind of an emotional statement, even if you have a lot of technique, it's good to balance it with some emotion. And as far as sound, that's very important, because your sound, all of these things are important, For me, I've always wanted it all. People, and I get asked that question, and it's really interesting to me that people think one is more important than the other. What's the most important thing is what's interesting to you. That's the most important thing. Not what other people say the most important thing is. You understand? Because why would it matter any other way than what's important to you as a creative person? And if your idea of being creative is to be able to pick up an instrument and just tear it to pieces, that's an emotion, and you can do that. And you don't have to listen to the criticism, like I've suffered for most of my life. But, I've always wanted it all. And I've always felt that if you have good technique, your emotional investment in your music can be stronger. I never bought into that crap that if you have technique, you're not emotional. Where does that come from? That doesn't make any sense to me. Emotion isn't something that you can turn on and off. I can tell you how to be emotional with the instrument, because what emotions are just thoughts. Emotions come from thoughts. The way you feel is a reflection of the thoughts you're thinking. There's no other way around it. First comes the thought, and then your body and your frame of mind reacts to the thoughts. If you start thinking about sex, your body's going to react. Start getting horny, If you start thinking about somebody that made you angry, your body reacts. You get angry. But you don't just all of a sudden get angry for no reason at all. You think thoughts about somebody or something. You start thinking about things that make you feel really happy, and your body is going to be much healthier, first of all, but you'll feel relaxed, If you start, a lot of people ask me, I get nervous before I go on stage, or I get, there's two words to remember: relax and breathe. Those two words, you can use them in so many situations, especially when you got to pay taxes. Or if you're being, you're having a fight with you're breaking up with somebody, you relax and breathe. And what happens when you think those thoughts, what happens? Your body can immediately relax and breathe. And if you say, well, I can't relax and breathe, it's because you're not allowing yourself to think of those things. So when you want to be an emotional player, or when you want to have an emotional investment in your artistic expression, whether it's the guitar, whether it's painting, whether it's poetry, whether it's numbers, whether it's the way you organize your room, whether it's whatever you do that's creative, you put yourself in a particular emotion by thinking particular thoughts. And that's a great way to write a song. You think thoughts that make you feel a certain way. And people do it all the time. It's so easy to see people writing songs about how much they hate themselves because they're always thinking about how they're not, how much other people are criticizing them or whatever, or how bad their relationships are. when you think thoughts about your relationship that went astray, guess what? You're going to be really unhappy, and the music you're going to create is going to be a reflection of that emotion. So keep thinking those thoughts, and you'll write very emotionally depressing music. But buyer beware, because you will become a self-fulfilled prophecy. The more you go there in your mind, the more you make it your own true reality. So I've never been a big proponent of this idea of, I have to get it out. You know, that my heart is broken, I got to get it out. You know, the more you go to get it out, the more you perpetuate it. Whereas if you just shift your thinking into other things, you'll feel differently. So if you want to change the way you feel, you have to change the things you're thinking. That's real courage, though, because that's hard to do, because our minds get stuck from all the crap that we hear and the crap that we see in the media and the world and things that people tell us about ourselves that we end up believing. That's all like, it's bullshit, you know? And what happens is you believe it and you can't extract yourself from it, because that's what you're thinking and that's what you're feeling, because what you're feeling is a reflection of what you're thinking. Real courage is the ability to say to yourself, I don't have to think this. I can think whatever I want. If there's any freedom that we have in the world under any conditions, it's the ability to choose how we want to think. And the way that we choose to think is going to change not only the way we feel, but it eventually changes our environment. So, to get back to your question, if you want to have an emotional charged piece of art, put yourself in a particular frame of mind by thinking particular thoughts. And whatever comes out of your fingers or your hands is going to be a reflection of that. I'm sorry that I got so emotional.
Siguiente pregunta, y esta es la última para acabar con